So we're gonna see the time lapse here of a Gasline install. The right spray paint. We couldn't find any of the spray paint or the paint spray for the ground. But we are making do with what we got. Here we are marking all of our fittings, all of our pipe runs. We've got it dug out there, trenched out. There we are installing the poly pipe. So these are the compression fittings. You can get these at your standard Home Depot. Do they work? Yes. Are they the best ever? No. For a budget project, they work pretty decent. Putting some adapters there. They got couplings, T's, they got everything. It's actually pretty fun to install this. It took us a little over a day, just myself and a helper, and it just took a while because it was the soil was pretty hard. There was a lot of rock in a certain area, but you can see there we trenched it out pretty good. Here we are. We're still running the poly. That's where we're gonna take it out from the house. Stuff looks like spaghetti. It's not as flexible as it looks, but you can move it pretty good. Still got the guys using the old school gas lines, black iron. You can do that. This is a little more flexible, a little easier, a little quicker, and I've never had a problem with it. Adapting it here. Got the male adapter. This is a 3/4 inch line to the 3/4 thread there. Here I am running around, hoping I don't fall into that ditch. 18 inches deep. You got to do it here in California. There we got our caution tape. I'm not looking to get sued. There we are the next day, the next morning. I always do the Teflon tape with the pipe dope. I've never had to go back and fix a leak. I've never had a leak. I've never had an issue. It works wonderful if you do it the right way. We got our riser there. We had to use two black iron nipples because we couldn't get the right size without using a union there. So we're tightening it up. You can see there the copper wire on the side. No, it's not just hanging there for no reason. It's actually what they call tracer wire. You install that when you run plastic pipe. Makes it so that in the future, if they want to locate the line, they can find it. We got another adapter here. So this guy, he's actually going to install a barbecue. He's going to install a fire pit and maybe something else. So got a couple of things here he's working on. So we ran that. About to install the riser here in a second. And it looks like it's tightening up there. So we're getting ready to run that riser up to it. And that's going up. More Teflon, pipe dope. Yeah, it's pretty fun installing this. Had some helpers, had some young friends of mine tell me, you know, because they think it looks hard or looks difficult, and it's not. Gas lines are really pretty simple. You just got to know a little bit of code. And as long as you leave everything leak free, you should be fine. You make sure everything's tightened properly. You follow all the codes. Here in California, it's 18 inches deep. You have to have the gas line for protection. If it's poly, you need to have that copper tracer wire, 14 gauge, I believe, which is the thickness of it. You have everything tested. We do here, it's either 10 psi for 15 minutes or 15 psi for 10 minutes, one of the two. It's never going to get that pressurized. To give you perspective, your car tire is about 35 to 40 psi, give or take. These gas lines, usually the low pressure gas lines, don't even run at, they're not even running at 1 psi. If they're pressure gas lines, I believe they can go up to 5 psi. However, here in California, I've never dealt in these residential, which is mostly what I install when it comes to gas. I've never dealt with anything that's more than not even a quarter psi. It goes by water column. It's about 5 water column, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me again if I'm wrong. Here we are again, getting that riser ready to go. Getting that Teflon, the pipe dope. Do the hand tight. We do the pipe wrench. Yeah, this person, I guess he was doing a whole backyard remodel. He was getting some concrete. He wanted to run these gas lines. He was fixing up his pool. You know, some people like to get nice things done, and that's good. If they can afford it, we can do it. So we were just doing the plumbing on this one, and so that's it. We installed some 1/2-inch shutoffs here for him. I went ahead and made sure everything is nice and tight. You want to make sure it's good and tight. You don't want nothing coming loose or leaking when it's under 4 inches of concrete and all that dirt and rocks. So you really got to make sure you get it nice and tight. Double check everything. Make sure it's all good. And if you did it right, there's nothing to worry about. So I got that real tight right there. Gonna go a little more, because we don't want no one messing with that. We don't want that coming loose ever. You know, you gotta have that knee protection. 28 and I'm already having knee problems, or knee aches. There we go. Tightening up all those poly pipe fittings. So they are compression, which means there's a rubber gasket that tightens onto the pipe, and the more you tighten them, gives it more pressure and make sure nothing moves. It also has these little teeth, plastic teeth, that lock onto the pipe itself, make sure it doesn't move. So really, if you get it tight enough, you should have no issue. So we like to double check everything before we finish everything up. There you see again that bare copper wire. So that copper wire we tie it in the end, but we're getting ready for that pressure test. Got the little Milwaukee air gauge. We're gonna pressurize that up to 10 psi. Looks like you can see there in the gauge. See if we're gonna zoom in here pretty soon. Looks about right, 10 psi. See if we can get that camera going in. There we go. So that's right at 10 psi. And see that? It's slightly under 10 psi. It's just the angle, but it's about 10 psi right there. We're gonna let it run for at least 15 minutes. We're gonna unplug the air gauge, make sure it's holding pressure. So you get a good view there. That pressure gauge. You can see nothing's moving. If you were to see that start dropping, there'd be an issue. And after the 15 minutes, it's been actually more than that. It's probably been about 45. We'd like to make sure we're taping up all that black iron. You got to make sure that is code here in California. If you don't do that, what can happen is that's when you see it corroding. The black iron doesn't really have protection like galvanized, and even that corrodes. So the black iron really has to be wrapped up, made waterproof when it penetrates the soil, so that water doesn't get into it. And then at the top you can just spray paint it, which you'll see a little bit later here in a second. So we get that real taped up real good, and we're backfilling that trench. You want to make sure you get no rocks on top of that gas pipe. There we go. We got that bare copper wire secured with that tape. So in the future, if they were to want to find and locate this line, they can power that copper wire and detect it underground. So even if it's plastic running under there, they can still see more or less where it's running, the direction, the depth, things like that. So there you got it. We got on all the finishes, all the shutoff valves, and here we are finally adapting. We're gonna go ahead and tie into that line that comes out of the house. Getting ready here, gonna do a hot tap. So we don't want to turn. They got the pool running, they got gas going, so make sure to cover that gas. Make sure it doesn't escape. A little bit's gonna escape, but you don't want to flood the place with gas, explosive gas. So went ahead and took some precautions there. Even though we had to do it that way, we went ahead and tightened it. And now we got it all tightened up. And we're gonna go ahead and spray paint it. So that top, you paint it, make it look nice and pretty, shiny. Typically here in California, we do a nice gray. Cover all that stuff up, and there you go. Now we follow that line over here to the shutoffs, the finishes. We got them spray painted, and there you go. Thank you for watching.